Oh, where are we at? Oh, here we are. Wow, here we are. Wow, go ahead.
Oh,
Um,
that took some doing
yeah, it
to get
did.
us here.
Is that what play we usually do?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
it is. It is.
Yeah,
I think it's not the overlay that's the problem. It's the
that's exactly the problem.
yeah.
That's not
Anyway, we're here.
working.
We are here
Yes,
running a little late. Plus, at the same time, we are someplace else in the universe right now.
and
I'm
having
doing our
technical
show.
difficulties.
Well, that's only because. Oh, there it is. That's a logo in the background. There we go. Okay. I hope the person next to me will be a little helpful while I'm doing what I'm doing. Can you
Yes,
please do
I
that,
am.
please?
I am definitely doing that. You were still talking.
Okay.
So
Just tell me shut up because I'm trying to work things out.
I know
Make
that.
it happen.
We are Sharon and
I'm
Craig,
gonna move
or
over a little
Imar and Zare,
bit. Turn this just a
and
little bit.
we are taking the journey together. Um, yeah.
There you go. That's better.
So we are here again, and I'm going to start off with our our belief system. I'll just call it that, our belief system. Taking the journey together, we believe that people are going to relate. It doesn't matter what your mother, father, sister, brother, or what anybody says, even Jesus, we are going to relate. But our belief is that you don't have to relate in the sense of the old way. And that is with people believing that you can either be friends or you can be lovers. And at that rate, you either marry your friend or your lover, but not both. And so, what we try to instill, or what we focus on, is helping people to understand that you can find that person who you build a friendship with. And as you build that friendship, build it into a loving relationship and marry that person, or go into a long-term relationship with that person, with cohabiting and or marriage, whichever you choose. But make sure that that person is your friend and your lover, so that you can be in relationship with both. And the funny thing is, we were watching this one show. It was a repeat of one of the Blackish shows the other day, and they were talking about he had this friend, this real good friend, this girl that he grew up with, and they were just real tight and everything. And so their relationship started changing because she she got a boyfriend, and they were very close, and they were together like friends. And so she was spending more time with this boyfriend than she was with the guy, I can't think of his name, who is the star of the show. She was spending more time with the boyfriend, and he got upset and he started feeling left out and everything. And so his wife says, "I'll be your friend," and he was like, "No." And so they decided that they would go ahead and try the friendship thing, and it just wasn't working for them. And finally, it came down to a situation where he and his girlfriend, his friend, his best friend that he grew up with, they mended whatever it was, and had an understanding that, yeah, they were still friends. They were always going to be there for one another. But the thing that got me is, at the end, the married couple, the ones that were trying to be friends, were both relieved that they weren't best friends.
Yes.
And that was a bother to me.
Yes. And the two folks who were the friends of them and their marriage, they left together.
Yeah, his wife and her boyfriend.
Exactly.
They were like, look at them. They're just, they were making a spectacle of themselves, as they say. And so they left together.
So what you saw was that two friends of the married people were kind of confused, if not happy, that the two married people weren't trying to be what? Friends.
But
I'm like, wow.
Yeah, but the couple that wasn't married, they were doing their own thing. They were building their own. because at the end it was like they both breathed a sigh of relief at the idea of them not being friends, not having to be, best friends or whatever. And I'm like, what kind of a relationship is that? And yes, I know what kind of relationship it is because I have been in one. I have been in several, but it's nothing
We
like.
can be friends, but not strangers.
When sometimes we're friends and strangers.
Sometimes there's friends with benefits.
And that's friends that are strangers.
Yeah,
So
that does happen.
so it does happen. But yeah, somehow when you don't have that friendship where you can do anything and everything with your partner, and you can laugh at things that are laughable, and you can have memories that only the two of you understand and can share. It seems like when you don't have that, you're missing something, or something is missing. And maybe that's just me because I have been in that situation where something was missing.
Okay.
And that thing that was missing was that companionship that connected with friendship.
All right. Well, I think it has a lot to do many times with someone just making a whole bunch of noise. I think it has a lot to do with people in relationships feel that when it comes to friendship and that relationship, we're talking about marriage relationship, committed relationship, that it should be outside of that, and that my friendship that I should be able to have as a friend with another of the other opposite sex outside of my relationship, in that particular portion, is the comfortable, what I would say, healthy relationship thing to do. But that still continues on the continued path that we can't be friends in a marriage relationship. We can be lovers, but we really can't be friends.
Yeah.
And if we really want to be friends, then we need to be a friend outside of the relationship. And then therefore in our relationship we have, well, they should be more understanding and more comfortable with the fact that we're having a relationship outside of my relationship with a friend.
Yeah.
That is an area that is a choice to be made, no doubt about it. But when it comes to friends, you can also choose a friend in your relationship, your personal relationship, your marriage relationship. You could choose that person to be your friend. Hopefully they were friends in the first place. If not, you can work on that.
Yeah.
And that's what Taking the Journey is all about, trying to help you understand that your mate can be your friend, your best friend, and you can work on it behalf. And I was quite unhappy with Blackish decided to push that same old point, and they were supposed to be in that. Diana Ross's daughter and
Anthony Anderson, I think his name is.
Good funny show, almost black, but we're Blackish. They were at the age that
Black and in the suburbs.
Exactly. I thought for sure they were going to not necessarily keep on pushing that modality, if you really want to call it, but they certainly seem to want to push that.
Yes. And so that just struck me yesterday or the day before, whenever it was that we were watching, that is an issue that should not that we shouldn't still have to live with. But I will admit that building that friendship is sometimes a difficult thing to do, and sometimes people, just don't have the stamina to go for it. And yes, I'm talking about an experience I've had in the past.
You say stamina. What do you mean by stamina? That's kind of interesting.
No, what I'm saying is
that word stamina.
That they don't go through. They don't stick with it.
Oh, okay.
They don't stick with it. So yeah. But here comes the segue.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that it happens that way. How's that?
Exactly. But and generally when that happens, they don't say I'm sorry, because
they don't.
It's a situation of this is what is expected. This is it's not that big of a deal. So, ooh, you okay? It's not that big of a deal, and so therefore, because it's not that big of a deal, it's just friendship, but we're still hanging out together.
Mhm.
We'll go to dinner together. We'll go to a movie together.
Yeah.
So is that friend like? No, it's friend like,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not the whole gamut.
No,
Friendship.
no, it's not. Oh,
So,
I just want to make sure our mic's on, but our mic's on. Nobody's hearing us out there.
yes.
Yeah. You can. Go ahead.
So you must say, so at that point, sorry is necessary because, you get to be sorry that you don't have that kind of a relationship, that relationship that goes, that covers all gamuts of relating.
Relating just to relating. Do some people out here just relate just to be relating? We're kind of rambling, but I think there's some people out here who relate just to relate. They love relationships just to have a relationship.
Yeah.
They really do. They love a relationship just to have one. It's really not anything to do with, let me turn this a little bit. It's not necessarily anything to do with, I love the person. It has everything to do with, I love a relationship just to be having that relationship.
I call them serial monogamists.
And there are some people who are like that. They
Yes.
love to have a relationship, and the people in the relationship doesn't necessarily have to be a friend whatsoever. They may not even connect to them personally whatsoever. To be honest with you, know anything about them deeply, want to know anything about them deeply, have no real regret or have no real compassion or empathy to that person. They look at that person more as an image.
Mhm.
I have a man. I have a woman.
I have somebody to go
warm.
places with me.
Exactly. But wanting to know or need to know that person personally, or that person to know you personally,
Yeah.
it really doesn't matter to them whatsoever. They just, have this thing. They're in love with being in love. Well, when it comes to taking the journey, talking about a healthy relationship, that's not a healthy relationship. That's going to wear off. Someone's going to make all of a sudden move and wake up. You're going to wonder, who are they?
Mhm.
And all that time that you thought they were something, they're going to come out being something else. And you're going to be surprised. They're not going to be surprised because they've been trying to be who they were all this time. It's you that basically were under a delusion of, this is how I wanted this person. I remember this guy a long time ago, with this lady friend of mine a long time ago, told me she had a friend of hers who was like that in her relationship. She would never let that guy see her face freshly, natural. Before he would wake up in the morning, she would run to the bathroom, put makeup on her face, and always make sure she would get back to the bed. And when he woke up, he would see her face made up all the time.
Oh, that was real transparent.
Yeah, you ain't kidding me. And she told me that this lady friend of her was just strongly that way. That's just how she rolled. She believed very strongly that she should always put on a face, you might as well say. And that face would be a face that was controlled by her, looked, as you would say, glamorous.
Wow.
So he could always feel like he was a nothing get the brothers out there too, but he was a professional football player. I'm not going to tell you a place where I live and who this person was, but it was a professional football player. And so she felt she had to live up to that world because he was a professional football player. And she told me when she used to hang around her, when they were out and around, she always put on the air. She always put on this mask all the time, not just a physical mask. Her personality was a physical mask like that. And leading segue, as you say, into our fifth and our last, or sixth and our last show on apology. She felt like in life, I don't ever need to apologize about anything. There's no reason to apologize because I'm doing everything the best that I can. And if anything happens that in turn is not the best that I can, why do I need to apologize for it? Because I'm doing the best I can. And what I can is always going to be the best.
And sometimes it's important to apologize for not being for being the best that you can be, because it's not always enough.
Well, I like how you're kind of quietly saying this too, because you also lived in a world that when it comes to apologies, that is something that people just did not do, didn't feel that it was their thing to do, and that if you did, it showed some kind of weakness or vulnerableness. Am I right?
Yeah.
So you basically just would not go out of your way to really apologize about anything. And a matter of fact, if someone gave you the feelings or the pushback that you should apologize, then that would be the one making me feel regretful, making me feel guilty, and you're not really loving me in a free way because you freely love me in such a way. Should I never feel any regret? I never feel any guilt. I should always feel, in so many words, that I would say this, what I say, I'm always doing the right thing.
And if that were the case, that would be great. But sometimes when you're doing the right thing for yourself, it's not the right thing for somebody else or the person that you're relating to. And so when that is the situation, then you must, that's a growth process.
I was going to say, if it doesn't fit, then I said, what?
But you don't necessarily have to quit. It's a growth process. You have, fortunately or hopefully, you will be with someone who will understand that it's a growth process and will be willing to work with you as you go about trying to grow from that. Because a lot of times, people don't tell us that we are not 100%. We're not perfect. That I read someplace that when we're born and we're starting to grow up, we always think that everything is perfect. Everything we do is done just right. It's not until we get to a certain age and people start telling us that that's not right, or we shouldn't do this, or
that's your speaking her story. I know a lot of us grew up. That was not even true. I don't know what kind of family you came out of.
No, I'm saying
that's not true.
I'm not saying.
Not grow up thinking that always was going to be perfect.
I
Everything
didn't
was
either.
always perfect.
I didn't either.
At all.
Trust me.
But you just spoke that.
No, I said I read that when you're born, you think that everything is perfect. Everything you do is right.
How does somebody know what someone was born?
Okay.
What did they do? Had a monitor
It was
in their head or something?
Did
they ask the little baby, and the baby, come on.
It was a spiritual book I was reading. It was saying that you come into this world not knowing that you're imperfect.
How many out there who are listening right now? Be honest. Do you believe what she just got to saying? That you come in the world, they would say innocent, and innocent means that you have no real conscious knowledge of right or wrong. I don't believe that at all. I believe that when children come into this world, they seem to have a lot of knowledge of what's right and wrong. They cry until you almost have a psychological breakdown because they want something. Because they seem to be spoiled.
But do they know that it's wrong to do that?
They know enough that they can basically get an action and a reaction out of you. That's what
they learn that, yes.
Exactly. Yes. So, no, I think from other studies that you want to talk about, they say the human child is the most self-centered child out of all the animal kingdom, because they have to have parents to be able to take care of them
for years.
Where most other animals or living beings, that at least on this earth, that they in turn don't need that long for another parent to take care of them, for them to be on their own and be able to take care of their own self. So from my standpoint of view, if you look at that in that framework, children are very self-centered, if you ask me.
Children are
and I think we start out being self-centered until we become more conscious that the world is not just centered around us, and that in turn we are part of a bigger picture, whether you call it God, goddesses, nature, whatever you want to call it, aliens, I don't know what you want to call it, but we're part of a bigger picture. And in relationships, it helps you move from being very dependent to moving to be independent. And then of course what we're trying to talk about is interdependent, from where you are able to do more things with someone else than what you can do by yourself.
So it's important for us to know that we're not perfect, and the thing that I think is the hang up, or the thing that holds us back, is the fact that we find ourselves being disappointed when we know that we're not living up to somebody else's expectations for the love.
Exactly. Now listen, if you got any questions out there, don't let us be the only one to do all the talking. We're going to have a guest next week. In fact, we're going to try to once or twice a month make sure we have a guest on, so you don't just hear from us. I know you guys just love hearing all our information. We do at the same time. We know we give out a lot of knowledge, a lot of information. We do personal coaching too at the same time. So if you want to get more towards your goal that you're looking for, especially in a relationship, we can help you on that path to get towards that goal. We don't judge you from the standpoint if your goal is wrong and your goal is right. Now, we will definitely in turn, hopefully, get you to understand when it comes to a thriving and it comes to a balanced relationship, there's some things and elements that you need to look at doing and practicing that will get you towards a goal of a more thriving, more healthy relationship. And when you talk with us, those are the kind of helpful things we're going to give you, and hopefully you'll end up in a much more better,
Exactly.
expanded, balanced, friendly relationship. In fact, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to give some good information about how you can deal with your relationship and when things are not going perfect, when things are not always going right. No, we're not talking about bridge statements, which we talked about
Already
before.
done that.
We already did that. We're going to get finished with sorry, hopefully today. No, we're going to talk about how do you deal with it when it comes to percentages. Yeah, we talk about that whole thing about marriage should be 50-50. Well,
Or
we know
100,
100,
100,
150, 150. Well, we know that that's just not necessarily true whatsoever. We
That's
know
real
that
things.
exactly. Well, we just know that relationships are not perfect, and so that even that idea is not perfect. But there's things that we can look and take a look at because people run into problems. People get stressed. People are not going to always be able to buy in or put in with how life has its outside things that can come to you. And if you want your relationship to stay on a thriving balance and you don't want it to capsize into just a survival relationship, you need all the techniques that you can to help you out so you can stay at the level, especially today with all the pressures going on, all the divorces that are going on. You're going to need as much information as you can.
Financial
to help you.
problems, all kinds of things.
Exactly.
Children not knowing how to cope so well in this society. It's
We even talk about Black folks' relationship. We
Oh.
really have a power play in our relationships right now. Men trying to, go through the rites of passage of trying to find out if they're men, when they're men, how can we be men. Sometimes we have to just be a man alone, which I believe that told my son years ago. Sometimes you have to just do this alone. And then, of course, the power play we have with our relationships with our Black women. And we still with that Willie Lynch syndrome, playing off of each other, not wanting to connect with one another. Basically, not trying to be friends with one another because we don't know much how to be friends with one another. And looking at some of our young people today who are trying to move down that route of being friends, some of them are being very successful at the same time. Yet there's some wisdom things that we can bring to them. As they learn how to be it, we can learn how to be it. We're all going to learn how to be it for the future to be real friends with one another. And our community, our Black community, needs that strength, uplifting to if you ask me, to be able to. Some people say to restore as it used to be, they say in slavery time, when people were enslaved here in America. I would say not just that, but I would say restore that which was always to be, which is a balanced, healthy relationship that African Americans, people of color, deserve to have in this world anyway. And so that's what I'm all about, trying to push and work in my relationship. I want you to think about you have the right to be able to work that same thing in your relationship too.
because what we're doing is life is an experiment.
Too short? Oh no, okay. You would say too short, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, life is an experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And you do get do-overs, but you have to also be able to communicate, to have those do-overs when you're in a relationship. And that's one of the problems and situations that we run into sometimes, especially today. People are too quick to say, "Oh, it didn't work the way I wanted it to, so I'm done with it."
Mm-hmm.
And that that's just over.
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to help you build a thriving relationship. What you're going to do is find yourself starting all over in another surviving relationship.
Yes.
And you're not learning anything from it. And that's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to help you to see your way through by saying, "I'm sorry," start.
Yes.
And knowing when you need to. And sometimes you have to say it when you don't feel it.
Yes, exactly.
But know that it's something that's necessary.
Isn't that a hard thing that you find to do when most of your life you've been presented that when it comes to having any real mercy or compassion, as we were talking about going through empathy, because it's five. Again, there's five type of apologies. Some people think there's only one, but there's five type of apologies. We went through the remorse, the regret. We talked about the restoration, of course, and then the empathy. But when you don't have a lot of empathy for your mate, which comes through friendship, most of the time, friends have empathy for one another. They're carrying that unconditional kind of love for one another. And that unconditional love is definitely based on empathy. I feel for you as you feel for me.
Right.
But you find in the generation now that we live, which is more of a me generation, it's all about me, what I can get. It's very hard for you to have that kind of consciousness,
Right.
whether you call it integrity or morality. You may not have that consciousness. And when you do, it might just be for your family.
Mm-hmm.
And then those who are coming out of latchkey families or coming out of relationships where they have no real family that they know of, been thrown out, been on the street, doing couch hopping, things
Right.
like that.
Surface
Surfing. Their family has been like the past in my day. The family would have been gangs that accepted them.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in one for a while myself. You felt accepted. You felt like you were part of a family. But now we find that not just gangsters are still doing it, but now the ones who went through the ones we talked about, now when they're getting into a relationship, being older, they're doing the same thing. I'm only going to be about me and my kids, my family, if that, in my little tribe, and that's it.
Right.
This universal concern about more than just me, unless it's you get me a job, I'm not going to be concerned about. So I may not go out and vote. I may not be concerned about if you're not getting another job. I may not be concerned about what's going on in another community, whether it's a black community or white community. I may not be concerned about, what your sexual desires are. I'm just about getting it for me. I'm about mine, and I'm going to get mine before you get me. And so this idea of trying to share in a relationship, this idea of trying to do that us thing, you could tell apologies are not coming.
Right.
Apologies are looked upon as you being weak. You should never apologize.
Yes.
Never apologize. You can see that's like a weakness in a person if they look at their being polite. Before it used to be more respectful. I can respect a person more if they are willing to apologize when they said or did something wrong.
I agree with that. And a lot of times, and I keep going back to this, and it's not one of those things that you should be proud of or anything like that. But I keep going back to the thing that it's a learned behavior. And even though in a lot of situations we learn how to say I'm sorry, we learn when to say I'm sorry, we learn when we are wrong that that's the right thing to do. We turn around and we get into relationships and we learn that saying I'm sorry doesn't mean anything. That saying I'm sorry means it's an opening for you to be taken advantage of.
Yes.
First of all, that means that you're in the wrong relationship. But until you figure that out, the damage gets done. And that's a hard thing to deal with, because what it also ends up is being baggage that you bring into your next relationship.
Yes.
Yes. I'm doing a lot of speaking from reality today.
Well, the baggage seems to be something that comes along in a relationship. And I believe everyone carries some kind of baggage, some kind of gross.
Yeah.
The problem is, if you're bringing home Walmart and Costco amount of groceries, because everything was on sale, you might have stuff in there that I don't want.
Yes.
Because you didn't want it, but you saw it there and you just bought it. I'm being metaphoric, but I think you understand that.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I think about what's her name, Erykah Badu. She sung that song, Bag Lady.
Yeah.
I mean, she was describing the same thing.
Oh, yeah.
That a lot of women are carrying around, baggage. And she sung it in having you looking through your third eye and have you listening with your third ear. We carry a lot of baggage in our relationships, and we think that's just how life is. I'm never wrong. I'm always serious. I don't really laugh. You're going to always have to prove yourself to me. All those things are baggages.
And if I am wrong, the hurt that I'm going to feel after I let you know I'm wrong is not going to be worth it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna be quiet,
Mhm.
or just do the prideful
Yeah.
where I'm gonna swallow
Yeah.
my dignity and just act like it doesn't exist. So we're getting near here. Let's go to a commercial real quickly, so we can finish this. I think people have heard a lot enough of it. You want to keep on. And I apologize if it seems like we'll be kicking a dead horse, but we want that horse to be dead. So let's go to commercial, and we shall be right back. How's that?
Sounds good.
All right, we're back again. We played that commercial. I just wanted real quick before we go into it. Let's talk a little bit where we could be seen other places. I'm gonna pop up one, and
Okay.
what was that?
You can see us or hear us
Mm-hmm.
on WRUU on Saturday mornings from 9 to 10 o'clock. That's WRUU 107.5. And you can listen to our old shows or past shows at rebrand.ly/TTJT-WRUU. I'll get that right in a minute. So that's again Saturday mornings, and you can see it scrolling across the bottom. Saturday morning, 9 to 10 Eastern Standard Time, just in case you're in another time zone. And yeah, we will still be talking about the same thing, but in a different manner.
And also, too, at the same time, you can also be involved. Well, I'm going to take a journey first. With taking the journey itself, we have an email address, as you can see, ttjt@takingthejourney-takingthejourney.com. You can go to Facebook, and you can see Facebook. You can see it there. Of course, we have an Instagram account too, if you want to get more information, or if you just want to email us and text us too at the same time. You know, again, when it comes to relationships, oh my goodness, it's tough. Can't be afraid, can't be uncomfortable. You got to be able to know that when you need some help, you're going to need some help. We're here to help you, not just talk to you. And that's about it. Please know that. Also, too, I'm looking, man, with my hair, first Chinese can be the two hair on the side. I'm looking old today. Oh my God.
Because you've been working hard.
Wow. Anyway, age is just a number, no doubt about it. Either not a principal thing, but how you feel inside.
Yeah.
And most of the time, people don't even have any idea what my age is by how I actually express myself and talk and do things. But anyway, River Street is our next adventure.
Yes.
Our first adventure is part of Unity Community, our nonprofit organization that we've been for the last African American couple down on River Street. We've been doing for almost 8-9 years.
9 years.
Now I have a young man down there who's doing a good job as our site manager. But if you want to be one of the vendors, and we're looking for, especially African American vendors, to come out and be food vendors to come out and be part of us, call our number there, 912-495-8838. We need River Street vendors. You can also see us January the 16th, I think it is, at Port Wentworth. Whenever people out there. Port Wentworth. The Port Wentworth.
The Juneteenth celebration.
Exactly. That's going to be what again? The 16th?
I believe it's the 16th.
It's 16th. So you can come out there, and we'll have a table set up there, some information there. We really want you to be part of it. It's every third weekend of the month down on River Street. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, from 11 o'clock in the morning to 12 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. You keep your stuff there, please to watch it. And on Sunday, it's from 11 o'clock in the morning to 10 o'clock at night. We're going 6 o'clock. Yes, 6 o'clock. And then, of course, New Year's. We're going to be down there for the third time on New Year's. It's going to be a good day on New Year's Eve. We want you to be part of that, too, at the same time. We're going to have a big party down there. We had a big, fantastic crowd the year 2019, one of the biggest. So, exactly. Okay, so we're back to where we were before. What is that?
I'm sorry.
You forgot?
Yes, I'm sorry.
We were back talking about
empathy.
Exactly.
But now we're getting ready to move into
the apologies.
Social harmony.
Exactly. You just did that quicker than me. Okay. Social. Tell us what social. What's a social harmony apology? What is that?
It's it's similar to an empathy apology.
Mm-hmm.
The apologizer, that would be me this time, does not acknowledge their behavior has hurt another, but does not believe their hurtful behavior was wrong. So basically, if I were to say, make a joke at your expense in front of a group of people, and it's something that is no big deal to me, but I can look at you and tell that it bothered you, and so I go, okay, so what's the problem? You said this before yourself, so what was wrong with me saying it to you? So what have I got to apologize for? That's social harmony apology. It's you kind of just like that. That was like in my head. But basically, what I would say is, all right, I'm sorry.
But you don't really mean it.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, I don't say what I'm sorry for. I don't say that I understand your hurt or your pain, but it's just kind of like one of those times when you're told to, like, basically when I've had.
I'm sorry, I was messing with you.
I know.
That's why I was looking down. That's why I was looking down, folks, because I was trying to mess with you.
It was distracting.
It was. I'm sorry.
Yes. And that's
for
like
your beautiful face. And you got to come over near me too, so we can see you on the camera. But your beautiful face and how you go ahead and express yourself. Everybody listens to your beautiful voice. So go right ahead. Sorry, look right into the camera. I don't bring the camera down.
Okay, you are a real friend because you will say stuff and make it sound sincere.
It should
sound true.
Yeah,
I
it should
love you
be.
for that.
It should be. You got nobody else.
Exactly.
I got nobody else listening to us right now. Well, there's one person that was, but we love to have other people speak in and not be afraid to speak your mind to at the same time. But on that note,
okay, I'm sorry.
No, on that note, be you.
Okay. It's kind of like a social harmony apology is kind of like, the better analogy for it is when, I had a student who said some things that were really not good. And it was, how do I say this? It was, to me, it was demeaning. And so when his mother was told about it, she lost her mind. And she went off on him seriously. And her statement was, now you apologize to her. You apologize right now. And so it was like, I'm sorry. I said, for what? I said, don't apologize. Because you're not really apologizing for what you did or understanding what you're apologizing for. So why are you apologizing? Oh, because your mother told you to.
Yeah.
You don't feel it. You don't mean it. Social harmony apology is basically that.
And you have that correctly. Definitely. I think a lot of us have seen and know social harmony apology mostly with arena and an area where people talk a lot, where people are divvying out policies, people are divvying out rules, people are holding up laws, people are in turn being voted into office. Social apology come a lot with politicians.
Yeah.
Politicians are your main persons that use social
they don't even apologize. They just
that has been we know now it seems to be almost one particular party doesn't seem to apologize about anything, no doubt about it. Not that I'm into politics or really independent, but yet still I'm not saying policy, but politics has been the big area with politicians where apologies have been the big thing. Now the thing is to do something that is harmful to a certain group, a certain race, a certain people's or party, and then later on apologize.
Half-heartedly.
So this is by the way, this is the fourth type of apology. This kind of apology we see a lot when it comes to politicians, no doubt about it. And yet we also see in our relationships some people do the same thing like a politician. And I always say, if you become a politician, just fine, but I'm not going to vote for you. You find in a lot of relationships, people will use the social harmony apology. They really don't mean it. They have no real empathy behind it, but they feel that it's this appropriate behavior to do and to say in that particular matter. Some people pretty much take it in the stride. That okay, at least he said that. I guess from the standpoint that some people wouldn't say anything at all.
At that point, I'd rather you just don't say anything at all.
I would too.
And that's just me. And that's why I told that student, don't even bother. And I told his mother, I said, that's not a sincere apology. And yes, I feel like one is necessary too. But if he is not feeling it, what's the point? And so she apologized. I'm like, I understand where you're coming from. You're sorry that he said it, but I'll accept your apology. But it's not his.
Exactly. He probably put on one on. He probably felt like he was put on the spot too.
But he was. He should have been.
You were trying to embarrass him. Sometimes that works.
I was not trying to embarrass him. He did that all by himself.
Sometimes it changes. Not all the time, but sometimes it does. Our last one. This is the fifth apology because we're going to be moving on to something better next time around.
Okay.
Yes. Well, let's say more helpful again because in relationships we're very complicated, and at the same time in relationships it's not checkers, it's chess. Especially how the world is today. So the harmless error apology. This is the last one. The harmless error. Remember, 5 type of apologies. I know most of us didn't even know that, but there's 5 type of. There's more. Hey, let us know too. At the same time, go ahead and type it in, text it, or what's it called? DM it to us. We'd love to know what that is. But harmless error apology. It is one in which the apologizer believes the harmful behavior was wrong, but does not believe or acknowledge it hurt the other person. I believe what I said was wrong, but I don't really acknowledge that it really even hurt you. Okay? Another way of putting it is this person sometimes, this person is if someone condemns their behavior and apologize what the behavior did, but not actually how it hurt the other person. Okay, we could say politicians enter that world if you want to, but let's not. But it does happen. But some people in your life, family members, let alone your mate sometimes, who has did this. I'll give you example. Then before you talk about it, I'll give you an example of, it's kind of like someone stepping on your toe, and then you say something to them like, "Ooh, my toe hurts me because you stepped on it," and they look at you and they say to themselves, "I'm sorry, but I don't really think I hurt you by stepping on your toe. I think you're over exaggerating. In fact, if you look closely, my toe missed you. Excuse me, my foot missed you."
Or I didn't think that would hurt.
Ooh, that's even the worst one. I didn't even think that was gonna hurt.
Yeah.
How many times?
You mean that hurt you?
Exactly.
Yeah.
How many times in the relationship that we've been in that we have did that, and either by accident or purpose, where that harmless, we're talking about harmless error, but at the end, your behavior and your apologies is when your behavior, you did not actually believe that it actually hurt that other person. So it's not like you didn't believe you hurt him, or you did something that should be apologized for, but you figured it was out of. And you know what gets me about this error? The error is not yours. Yeah. The error is who? The error that you're feeling is the other person.
That's what I said. It's theirs.
Exactly. Yeah. You stepped on the toe, but I feel your error is for you bringing it up in the first place.
Yeah. But here's the quintessential statement.
I'm glad you can say that.
The quintessential statement in a harmless error apology. My bad.
Ooh.
That drives me crazy.
Yeah.
That drives me
that
crazy.
said a lot. A lot of you are my bad persons.
Yes, and for the longest, that was just the answer to everything.
It was my bad. Yeah.
And I'm like,
wow, it is. It's now. It's like a style. If you
you don't hear it as much now as you did like 10, 15, 20 years ago. But still, it lurks. It raises its unapologetic head.
Exactly. My bad. Yeah. And you know full well they don't believe it's the bad.
No.
I hated that our kids now are operating in that level. They don't take anything but serious. They look at things in a very lighthearted way. I mean, just think about the desensitizing. Thank you. I would say desensitization. How's it say?
Desensitizing.
No, I thought it was desensitization.
Well, it's easier to say desensitizing than the other way.
Let's say the other one.
Desensitization.
Exactly. It's like a systematic thing that's happening with our young people.
Yeah.
Through video games, through TV shows, through movies. We watched a couple of movies not too long ago. Detail and the grossness of the killing and the shooting and the bursting of the heads and the blowing open of the chest and the thousands of magazines that come out of a particular gun, AR, the lasers that pierce right through them, and the ahs, and the close-up to your dome shots. I mean, it opens over and over and over again. And the more gorier it gets, the more close-up it gets, the more it seems like the show is right on track to being more realistic. I'm thinking to myself, how in the heck are you going to ever get a child or someone to apologize? I mean, in the country, you have sadly people from black folks from a mall being killed because of a racist young man who did what he did, a young person, some say a young monster. You get from a young lady who was just killed not too long ago. Black lady was killed with someone from Florida, or I can't remember who it was. Exactly, shot her through a metal door, and she was in Florida. They're not going to let her use the
stand your ground.
Yeah, they're not going to let her use that stand your ground thing because she didn't stand her ground. And then we got our young folks in different cities who are shooting young folks and shooting older people and innocent people for no reason at all. And then we have our own relationships that are going on. We're having domestic violence. It seems like the desensitization of violence, where you believe it's the gun that's the problem, or you believe it's the person that holds the gun is the problem, because the gun is the tool, and some people believe I shouldn't have the tool, so therefore I won't be able to use it to kill, and you believe it's just a mental problem. However it may be, the desensitization is just rampant. I remember one time I talked to a mother who was having her kids a couple of years ago, who were watching that, and the mom said to me, "Yeah, Craig, you just always talking that, preaching that kind of stuff, like you Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, doing that stuff, that righteous kind of stuff. But that's not even necessary. We don't need to do that so much. I apologize for none of that, my kids, until I do it." And so I thought about that for a second. It was with a whole bunch of relatives that were in the house. I thought about that for a second, because she was from, there's no doubt about it. The kids were there. So I said, okay, let me roll with this forward and let's see what happens. I said, what happens, given this scenario, what happens if we're in this house right now, as we are right now, enjoying ourselves during a holiday, and all of a sudden someone bangs on the door real loud, you don't know who they are. Then when you open up the door, these guys come in busting in the door, just busting the door. They look like they're gangsters. They look like they're from the hood. Some with different cultures, different backgrounds, and they bust in the store. Stand at the door, and then tell you to sit your ass down, and then tell your kids to come over here, because we are going to take care of a problem that one of your child did, and we don't particularly care for what it is. And we're going to, on the spot, show you what we feel and what we think about it. And so they take one of your child, I forgot one of the young kids' name, because he was one of my nephews at the time, my first marriage. And I kind of, you played through the action of it, and I brought him over, and he took the gun and said right in front of him, "Why? I'm going to blow his brains out." And I just, show him out of action. Blew his brains out right in front of you, and his brains splatter all over the table and all over the couch. What are you going to feel about that? How are you going to feel if that reality came through? Well, needless to say, the whole room was quiet. It was quiet.
I guess so.
And the mom looked at me and said to me, "Now, you know that thing ain't real. That probably would never happen." I said, "Okay, but yet I still made my point, and you know it. Because what you're watching is something that gives the impression that it never happened, and it's imaginary. But if it was very real and it happened, as I just said, because that's a possibility, because tomorrow's not promised to you, would you feel and think the same way as you do when you have those kids watch that, and the kids feel as they do too?" They all said no. So we got to be wise of what we think, and what we feel, and what we look, and what we allow into our eyes, and what we hear. We got to be wise about it.
And we've got to be protective of our young people and what they are allowed to take in, especially when they take it in unfiltered. And when I say unfiltered, I mean in a situation where there's no discussion with an adult as to the pros and cons of that situation and the reality of that situation. Because if you don't, and then something does happen, what kind of apology are you going to use?
Well, some reality will draw through the energy of life towards you. Sometimes what you see, what you think, what you feel, many times will draw that to you. There's that old saying, "A man that lives by the sword can die by the sword." That's an imaginary kind of energy that's called through the power of what? Attraction. So you got to be careful with what's coming in. You got to be careful what you listen to. You got to be careful what you say, because you can actually create those things to happen back with you. Some people call it bad luck. Call it what you want. Be concerned with what you think. Be concerned with what you say. Use that apology. That's what this is all about.
Saying I'm sorry
is so important. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. And it helps heal you. It also helps heal that other person. Be sincere about it. Put yourself in the other particular shoes as that person in turn would feel doing to others. You feel others would do it to you. In this case, use restoration. Restore that person if in turn you know you did something wrong. Look at a plan on how you're going to restore that particular individual. Walk through the steps with them. Take that regret and that empathy that comes along with it. It will let that person know in the relationship that you really care about them, that you really love them, and that you really are a friend, and there's not this talk.
And
Try. I'm sorry.
And be willing to renew that relationship necessary.
Exactly. Stay away from the social harmony apology. And please, if you're politicians, please stay away from it. And last but not least, if you run into that harmless error apology, stop it.
Yes.
Stop it.
The next time you want to say my bad, don't. Just don't.
Exactly. Well, anything you want to finish up, because this is the end of our apologies. We apologize that this is the end of our apologies.
Yes.
This is part 6. We went through it enough. I think people heard enough about it. Hopefully it took something with you. If you in turn enjoyed it, or in turn it was something that you can learn, or as a preacher said one time, it was something you had to put in your deep freezer of your mind and your soul. One day you have to grow. Bring it out.
Yes. And so with that, and on that note, we look forward to being with you and you being with us next week, when we will have a special guest, but we're not going to tell you who it is just yet. We will have a special guest, and we will be in celebration of Juneteenth coming up.
Exactly. All right. Take care. God bless. Ashe. And may your relationship continue together as a journey. Right?
Absolutely.